Hello again, this is Mark Freed, and this is the 9th video in a series of videos that I have created to introduce new users of the KNILT platform to the MediaWiki commands that they need to learn to create their KNILT pages and format them. This video deals with images and how you add them to your KNILT presentations. There are basically two steps in this process. The first one is to upload your image into KNILT by clicking on the upload file link over here. And then secondly, to use the image command to place it in your document and do some formatting to it. So I'm going to go on upload file. I've already created a link to that. I had that page open, so here we are. And so here's a picture, random picture, Zion National Park. I took it a couple of years ago. Let's just upload that one. So you can see there, I can put a comment if I want. All right, and I can upload it. And now it's in my KNILT folder. So if I want to add it to my presentation, I'm going to have to remember the name that I called it, which is zion.2019-1001.jpg. It's a little weird because I was there in 2018, but I guess I messed that up. Anyway, we're not going to deal with that picture anymore. So let's work on the main issue here, which is how do you enter command once you've got a picture in your upload file? And the way you do that is pretty straightforward. Now, I've already programmed this page. I'm just going to reveal it bit by moving this comment, this HTML comment command down. So right now, let's just move it down a little bit. And so here's the basic command. I have an image that I saved called calculus.png. PNG is one of the many formats you can use. And if you looked quickly, you could see on that upload page all the formats that are available to you to upload as images. So I've got this calculus PNG image, and let's see how it looks on the page. It looks like this. Just a little demonstration of how you calculate the area under a curve using an integral. So not very interesting. One of the options you have, here's the help page, and I do have a link to this below. A lot of things you can do with images. You're going to need to go to this help page and spend some time on it. But I'm going to give you the highlights now so you can move ahead without having to worry too much about the help page as you get your presentation underway. So suppose I want to add a border. You can add a border, you can add a frame, or you can call a picture a thumbnail and do some other things with it, like line it up with multiple pictures at the same time. We're not going to do that here. So if I add a border, what happens? So let's just take a look. And the answer is nothing happens. The reason for that is that MediaWiki defines a border as a thin gray line. This image already had a thin gray line around it, so adding another one didn't change a thing. Let's see what happens if we add a frame. So as you can see, the command is you still put the double left bracket. This is an internal link for KNILT or for MediaWiki. So you put uppercase F file colon name of the image you want to load and two right brackets. If you want to start formatting, you're going to put a pipe after the name of the picture and then put the formatting commands in. And you can put multiple commands in, as you're going to see very shortly. So let's just put a frame in and see what happens. All right. Well, a couple things happened. Here's the frame. We got the frame. Well, the picture went all the way to the right. How did that happen? Well, that happened because when you say border or you say nothing, the picture is just placed in line with the text. So that's what happened here. When you say frame, it floats, and the default position for floating is to the right, which means it leaves the left side open to contain anything else that's on the page. I don't mind having this text here, but I'm not very happy having this text here. This is a separate section of the page. It belongs at the bottom. It doesn't need to be filling up this space left open by the position of the frame. So first, let's talk about how we can move that. Well, the way we do that is we use a command which is sort of an HTML command, but it's been modified in MediaWiki. And what it does is it clears out the space. So this break clear equals all, which again is sort of an HTML command, but not exactly. It doesn't matter, it works fine. And it will clear out that space around the frame, as you can see here. So now what's happened is I've got my separate section of the page. These are the links to the other videos in this series. Down here on the bottom, I don't want it bumping into this frame. And I've let this other text flow in because I'm fine with that. So now, that's how you clear out space. But the frame doesn't have to float to the right. You can put it in the center. And the way you do that is you have, again, the image insertion command, double left bracket, file, calculus, PNG, pipe, frame, pipe, center. And I'm also going to add a caption because frames and thumbnails can accommodate captions, borders cannot. And then we have this bit of text, and let's just see where it goes when I hit save. So here's the previous one. Now I've moved the frame to the center, and you can see there's nothing on the left or right. And that's because when you tell MediaWiki you want a frame in the center, it automatically assumes you don't want any text on either side. If you say left or right, if you say nothing, you get right. If you say frame right, you get this, and it will put text here unless you say clear it out. And similarly, if you say frame left, it's going to be over on the left side, and it'll fill in the space on the right unless you say keep it clear. Here's the caption. I could have had a caption here. I didn't do it. And then that line, where will the text go? Well, actually, the text went down here because, not because I said clear it out, but because this is centered. If I had had it on the left, the text would have been right next to it. So again, a lot of variables, and you're just going to have to do a little practice to become more familiar with them. So as I just said, if I say left, now you can leave frame out and you can just put a position in. So that's not going to allow a caption. Well, let's see what happens. All right. So now we have, here's the image on the left, and the text just came in right next to it because I didn't say clear it out. And it literally went right up against the edge. That doesn't look great either. But you can control that, and we'll get to that in a second. Now, right now, let's talk about changing the size of the image. You have the ability to change the size. You can set the width, you can set the height, or you can set both. But there's no reason to set both. And the reason is because MediaWiki keeps the aspect ratio of images fixed. So if you change the height, the width will change accordingly so that it looks the same. And similarly, if you change the width, the height will change accordingly within limits. MediaWiki will not blow a picture up beyond some limits that I don't quite understand, but basically you can think of it as it's not going to make your picture look ridiculous, and it's going to stop at a certain point in expanding it. Maybe it has to do with the size, I'm not quite sure, but you can't expand it indefinitely. So now I've said, okay, I've made this picture 500 pixels wide. As it happens, there are 12 squares along the x-axis, there are 10 along the y-axis, so the ratio is 12 by 10. And so the height of this has now been adjusted to 5/6 of 500 pixels, which is 400 some odd pixels. Now let's change the height and not the width and see what happens. So if we do that, and I'm going to make it smaller actually, because in trial and error before I started recording this, I found that I couldn't make it higher. It didn't change anything. So let's just put this here, and I've changed it now to a height of 100 pixels. And oh, much smaller. So it shrunk it, So I was able to do that. There's, again, you're going to have to play around with things because it will change things to a point and then it won't change them anymore. So you're gonna have to play around with things to get them the way you want them or as close to the way you want them as possible. So again, the ratio is 12 by 10. So we know since this is 100 pixels high that it's going to be 100 pixels wide by default. But I didn't have to say that. I could have said it. It doesn't add any value. Just put the height in and it will take care of itself. So now let's talk about text a little bit. If you want the text to be somewhere else, you've got to give it a command that says where I want it to be. And as you'll see in the help pages, there are a number of places you can put it. So for example, I'm going to put the comment here. And I'm going to have a command that just says, here's the picture, and I want the text in the middle. Okay. Or actually, what this is saying is, I want the picture in the middle of the text. Okay. What's going on here is, as you've seen just up here, you can say left, you can say right, you can say center. You can also say none, or saying none is the same as having none. When you do that, you're saying put the picture in line with the text. It's not put the text in line with the picture, it's put the picture in line with the text. So this command here says put the picture so that it is in the middle, so that the text is actually in the middle of the picture. That's the way it's interpreting it. But you're saying center the image in the text, as opposed to have it at the top or have it at the bottom. And here's how that works. So now you can see I've got a line of text, and what MediaWiki is doing here is it's just treating this image like another word in the text. It's saying, well, I've got a line, this is the line I'm typing on, and by the way, the user wants an image here, so I'm just going to put the image in, and this is where I was told to put it. So that's why it's in the middle. The options you have available to you are quite extensive. You can say middle, baseline is going to have the picture be higher. You can say have subscript, it can be a little lower. Superscript, it can be a little higher. It can be at the top of the text, it can be at the bottom. You can play with all these things and see where the text comes out to get it the way you want. But one last thing here, we already showed you the sort of weird quasi-HTML command to clear out the side. If you want to be more specific, you can use an actual HTML command, and you'd use the HTML div command with the CSS style equals quotes, clear left or clear right or clear both, and then the end HTML command, and that works just fine. And I've actually already done that. I just showed you that. So that's another way to clear space. So let's just summarize now. I'm going to put this down here, and I'm going to let you go to the help page in a second. And it wants me to do a little math because I made some significant change there. So that's fine. And now you can see here's all the stuff we created, and here are the summary points. So again, just to repeat, you're going to upload an image you want to save into your image folder with a link at the left side of the page. You're going to remember what you named it, write it down, because otherwise you got to go hunting. It's not that hard to do. Click on upload image and or upload file, and you'll see your image and you'll see what you called it. But if you want to avoid that, just write it down when you do it, and it'll be easier. You decide if you want your image to have a border, a frame, appear as a thumbnail. And if you do, you use a pipe to define that. And then frames and thumbnails can have captions, borders can't. Images can appear left, right, or center, and default. If you want to manipulate the text, you need to use the default. And here's where it is. Here's the help page. Looks like this. And again, spend some time on it, but you should know enough now to be able to get going. And that is it. And thank you very much.